Thanks, everybody. We're back. Kevin Hogan, Tech and Learning Magazine, and our live coverage from ISTE 2016 here in Denver. It's been a kind of a wild and woolly day, pulling people in off the floor, and we've got a big fish. We had a big fish with Alan November. Been following Alan's work for well over 10 years when I started to get into ed tech. I've been to the BLC event a long time ago.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, back in a previous life.
Yeah.
When the opportunity came to have a few minutes to talk with you, I was really happy to do it. So
yeah, I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you. You're just back from World Travels.
World Travels.
Hitting lots of things. So what's the latest in
Travels.
Alan November's world when it comes to the big picture ideas of ed tech?
Yeah, the big picture. I'm hung up on language these days. So lots of people are going to one-to-one, and you know what that means.
Yes.
One device per one kid.
Yes.
And there's a whole stream of staff development on how to use the device. And then it's a $1,000 pencil. So it's a bad investment at the end of the day.
Right.
If we're going to give students old work with a new tool, we're going to end up with the same results. And people wonder, why haven't we had a breakthrough yet?
Right.
I mean, not yet. And this is my 25th year of ISTE. So you would have thought in 25 years, mathematics, science, writing, we would have seen some incredible breakthroughs, and we haven't.
So what will make that breakthrough happen? Is it the pedagogy? Is it the culture of a school or a district?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think we have to get the culture right.
Yeah.
If this were a corporate meeting, I go to those too.
Yeah.
They say, until you get the culture right, you can't get the technology right. You don't hear that a lot in school meetings like this. And I am concerned that the culture of the classroom might be like strapping a jet engine on a Piper Cub.
Right.
It's just the wrong culture.
Right.
So for example, a highly valued skill of a teacher today is their subject knowledge. But subject knowledge is on the internet and in different learning styles. So the value, if you want to ask the question, what's the added value in the age of the internet? I think there's a steep declining value of the teacher's subject knowledge, which means there's a steep declining value in lesson plans that are content-driven. So for example, and I like to call this whole thing one to the world instead of one-to-one, because when you replace the word one with world, it gives you a different framework, at least of language. And so I think there's 2 or 3 skills in staff development that would be essential on the process pedagogy side, almost prerequisites. So one is teaching teachers to learn how students learn. That's the real added value of a teacher. I mean, compared to somebody who just knows their stuff, like a doctor or a lawyer or a mathematician, compared to a math teacher, you know, what's the added value of a teacher? They both know their stuff. So I think the added value of a teacher is they really can diagnose how every single student learns. And we have a lot of tools now that make thinking visible. So there's a whole skill set around designing assignments and things that happen in the classroom to make thinking visible and then to give teachers a sense of diagnostic skill set. So we can really personalize instruction. And at that point, you need resources from around the world. Probably whatever you have in your classroom is not going to do it.
Right.
If you're really diagnosing how every student learns.
Right.
So that's a biggie. Teacher as learner, teacher as understanding how every student learns.
To follow up or go a little deeper into that one, how much more responsibility is it now for the individual teacher to do their own professional development and professional learning? So like before, where the district would say, here's your 3 days of workshop and go, and here's your materials.
Right.
Now that we have these tools, does it seem that it's more of a responsibility for the teacher to do these things on their own? Such as come to ISTE, or such as come to your workshops, or, you know?
I don't know that there's one answer. I think it's a combination of things. I think if you just tell anybody, go learn anything, some people will be able to do that. But the dropout rate, for example, of MOOCs is something like 85, 95%.
Yeah.
So even though a lot of this stuff is out there, I still think learning is a social endeavor. Socrates was right. I really think Socrates was right. And in some ways, we got to go back to Socrates, who said, look, learning is about defending and questioning around a table where the role of the teacher isn't to give any answers, but to ask the most interesting questions, which is another skill we might want to talk about, is how do we teach kids to ask the most interesting questions? See, up until now, the whole thing has been about giving them questions that they answer. I could call that spoon feeding. So I want to do less of that. But going back to your question about teachers being self-directed and designing their own staff development, I certainly want to teach teachers how to do that. I want to teach them to follow certain hashtags. I want to teach them how to follow certain people around the world. I want them to share so they get feedback. So it's not just learning from others, but it's putting your own stuff out so you get feedback. So I certainly highly value teacher as designer of their own professional learning. I'm in, sign me up. It's just that we're all sort of coming out of this culture of having taken courses. Our education's been organized for us, by and large. It's how we're credentialed.
Right.
So there's a fair amount of unlearning to do. It's not just learning new things. That'd be easy.
Yeah.
But you have to actually give up a sense of not being someone's student and being self-directed and taking responsibility for that and learning how to build your own ecology of learning. But we can teach teachers to do that. So there's an upfront investment,
Right.
I think is what I'm saying.
How much do we have to worry about the students when it comes to this and their style of learning? I mean, is that, with the new technologies that have been developed, I watch my own children use these devices and access the learning, and they're already kind of 3 degrees ahead of me. And they're very meta about their own education as well. So I guess it was a leading question to say how worried we were, because I don't think you're going to be worried about them at all.
No, I'm actually quite worried.
You are?
Yeah, I'm worried. I think we've overestimated what kids can do. It looks like they're so facile with the technology that we go, wow, look what that 18-month-old can do. Well, the 18-month-old is not doing deep thinking, I'm pretty sure. And the 18-year-old might not be doing deep thinking either.
Right.
I can give you some examples if you
want.
One of the most interesting things is to take a superintendent and line up the AP Calculus kids and give them 4th grade word problems. And ask the AP Calculus kids, can you solve 4th grade word problems? And all of them look at you like they're insulted. And then they can't do them. And the superintendent's freaking out. Because the superintendent thought AP Calculus kids can do 4th grade word problems. But 4th grade word problems, which are the worst data point in all of our stuff that we measure, it's the weakest in all the curriculum areas. 4th grade word problems.
Okay.
My sense of what, there's a lot of reasons probably why that's the weakest area, but just on paper, I think it's the weakest area because it asks you to think things through that are not well organized for you. It's kind of messy when you read a word problem. It's not clear where the equation sits. You got to kind of draw it out of those words, which means you got to know how to read. So some of it's a reading problem, but it's messy. And there are 2 kinds of problems to give kids: messy problems and well-structured problems. So if you're going to hire me in a school system, I'm going to take a job and I can write my own job description. I'm going to be in charge of messy problem design. That's what I'm going to be.
Very good.
I used to be a technology director. I am never going to be a technology director ever again, because it's not about technology. It's about things like messy problems. Because if we do not give kids messy problems, instead of these well-organized, highly structured,
assessed-laden,
spoon-fed problems, it doesn't matter that you do well on those tests. The world's messy. So, yeah, I'm worried about kids. I'm really worried about kids. And then on top of that, I love, Jamie McKenzie has this website called the Questioning Toolkit. Questioning Toolkit just lists different categories of questions. Divergent, convergent, hypothetical, irreverent, all these different kinds of questions, you know. I give that list to high school kids too.
Okay.
And I say, what do those words mean? Most high school students can't tell you what one definition is of one category of a question. They don't know what a convergent question is or a divergent question. That scares me. Because if you don't know the definition of different kinds of questions, and you've not been taught to develop a line of inquiry with different kinds of questions, you've only been taught to get answers to well-structured questions.
Right.
I don't care how good you are with technology, that isn't the point.
Right.
The point is, can you ask the most interesting questions in the world to solve some pretty complex problems we're facing?
Well, if it's not about the technology anymore, we're going to have a new title for the magazine, so you'll have to help me out with it.
I would love to help you out. Seriously, I'd love to help you out. I think ISTE's got to change its title too.
Yeah.
It is not about technology.
Yeah.
I used to be on the board, had this argument 15 years ago. I didn't win then. I don't think I'm going to win today. It's so sexy and it's so alluring and it's so there in front of you that arguing that it's not there in front of you is like a ridiculous, but I'm going to keep trying.
Well, we have another year until to the next
trying.
ISTE. We'll rename that too.
In fact, my own conference, may I give a little plug?
Yeah, absolutely.
15 years ago, I took the word technology out of it.
Okay.
And it's called Building Learning Communities. And my friend said, you're going to kill your conference. No one's going to come. People love technology. You got to tell them it's about technology.
Right.
More people came. So I know it can work.
Right.
I know it can work.
15 years running.
Oh, well, now I'm in 17.
Yeah.
2 years it was technology something. Last 15 years it's been building learning communities, which I'd rather focus on than a device.
Well, that's fantastic. Hey, thank you very much for a really delightful conversation.
Great to chat with you today, Kevin.
Thanks.